Hey folks, it's Jeremy, the host of Blammo. Thanks so much for listening. This is a preview of one of our exclusive shows on Patreon. These are member-supported shows, meaning they only happen because of our incredible members and community. So check out a preview of the episode, and if you like it, consider joining us on Patreon at patreon.com/Blammo, where we have tons of exclusive Blammo episodes, shows, our amazing Slack group, and we're adding new things for members all the time. If not, no worries, we still love you, and we literally have hundreds of episodes of Blammo all free for you to dive into. Thanks so much.
Hey, Derek, how you doing?
Hey, Peter, how's it going?
Good. What you got there? What you drinking?
I'm drinking something that you made me, which is really tasty. What is this?
It is a cocktail that I made with 1 part Larceny whiskey, which is one of my favorite whiskeys. It's a wheated whiskey, super smooth, and 2 parts of something called Purity Spritz, which I believe I got from Trader Joe's.
Wow.
And you're supposed to mix it with, what does it say? It says mix with champagne, kind of like a highball.
So you're supposed to mix it with champagne.
So you're supposed to mix it with champagne, and it becomes something a little bit sweeter than champagne. Champagne can have the tendency to be pretty dry.
Yeah.
This is extremely sweet.
It's very, very sweet. It's candy-esque.
It
Candy-ish. It's tasty.
And it's got a little bit of Mediterranean citrus, a little bit of bitterness to it.
Yeah.
I also added orange bitters as well. And to top it off with a little bit of cherry essence sparkling water.
Wow. What are the proportions of all that?
1 part whiskey, 2 parts of this spritz, about 10 dashes of the bitters, and about 6 ounces of the sparkling water.
Okay. How much is that Larceny? How much does it go for? Is it an expensive
It is
whiskey?
so inexpensive. It's $35 max.
Is that the one that you gave Fred Nidu?
Everyone that visits here, I give him that whiskey.
It's really tasty.
It's super tasty. It's scarily easy to drink.
Yeah.
As you'll soon find out.
Yeah, because normally you just put a bit of water in it, and even that's really tasty.
Yeah. You don't need to add any water to cut out the harshness. Wheated whiskey, by its very nature, is much smoother than corn whiskey, which is the majority of whiskey. Rye whiskey can be a little peppery, which is also good. But wheated whiskey, the next wheated whiskey is Walker, which is not bad, but it's not nearly as good as the Larceny. Or Pappy Van Winkle, which is extremely expensive.
Yeah. This is really, really tasty. It's good.
Yeah.
I like it. What else have you been up to?
I just got back from Tahoe and I had a blast. Tahoe is so beautiful. We're fortunate here in the Bay Area that we are close to so many different things. We're close to a redwood rainforest just up the coast. We're close to beaches, and we're close to mountains where you can go skiing. Yosemite Lake Tahoe is fantastic. It is a huge lake in the middle of the Sierras. It rests at about 4,000 or 5,000 feet, and you can go there in the summer. It's warm. You can go there in the winter. It's bitingly cold. And this year, I went up with a pair of sweats, for lack of a better term. And these sweats, I did a photo shoot in these sweats. Full disclosure, these sweats were sent to me by this guy, and he said, I would like you to style them. And I said, well, to be honest, I don't really wear sweats. And he says,
I'm too fancy for sweats.
he says, no, these are fancy sweats.
Okay.
I want to get your
What are they made from?
They're made from cashmere.
They're cashmere sweats?
They're cashmere sweats.
Okay. Are these sweatpants or sweatshirts?
It's a set.
It's a set.
It's
a sweatsuit.
It's a sweatsuit.
Okay.
In double-faced cashmere.
What weight?
It's about 1 kilo.
Wow.
It's just under 1 kilo.
It's like a London Lounge version of sweats.
It is insane.
This is really more like a sweater. I don't know if I would call these sweats. This is
It is a sweater. It's a double-faced cashmere sweater.
Yeah.
But as you can see, they're basically sweats. It is a sweater.
I don't know. I wouldn't call them sweats. I mean, when you think of sweats, you think of like cotton poly, smooth on one side, terry maybe on the underside. This is...
well, that's what he wanted. That's why he made them double-faced, because he wanted to imitate sweats.
But it feels like a sweater.
It is so incredibly soft, ridiculously warm. It was 20 degrees during the day, and I was sweating in those.
Wow.
They're really, really warm.
I would be curious on, do you get to keep these or do you have to send them back?
I do get to keep them.
I'd be curious on whether or not cashmere sweatpants pill.
That is a good question.
That's kind of the thing with cashmere is that, all wool pills.
All wool pills, yeah.
But cashmere, especially because it's even at the best cashmere, it's going to be a little bit more delicate than, let's say, like a Shetland or a lamb's wool.
Or a lamb's wool, yeah.
So I'd be curious, not to be crass about it, but especially like between the legs, as you're like walking around, if that area ends up pilling. But they are really, really nice. It's like I feel like the top, basically to me, feels like the thickest cashmere sweater I've ever felt.
It is, I believe, 12 gauge.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. The top is really, really nice. But I'd be curious on what cashmere sweatpants, like how they'd age.
Well, I've worn them for a day.
Yeah. Or I guess maybe if you live the lifestyle where you're just like snacking in bed, then maybe it doesn't matter. But,
so that's the thing. To me, it's sportswear. You can lounge in sweats, but I don't lounge in sweats. I may be the weirdest guy.
Playing basketball in these?
On the planet. Probably not. Oh, I wrestle in them.
Yeah.
No, so growing up in San Diego, I did not wear anything to bed. So I don't wear pajamas. I don't wear a robe.
Okay.
I wear a robe if I feel fancy or if I know someone is in that. So if we have people over and I just want to relax in the house, then I'll wear these sweats or I'll wear a robe and I feel like, welcome into my abode. And, can I pour you a drink? But I'm not a pajama guy.
Yeah.
I like the idea of pajamas.
Have you ever had a set of pajamas?
Yeah, I have a set of pajamas from 18 East, and they're awesome.
Okay.
They're those block print pajamas that were based off of Steve McQueen in Bullet, and that was his first season. And
are they slim or full fitting?
I got a small. I should have got a medium or a large, but the small fits me fantastic.
Okay.
But if I were to get the intended fit, I should have got a medium or a large.
I feel like pajamas only work when they're really big, and there's been a bunch of new brands that have come onto the market and they make slim fit pajamas. Like I bought Sleepy Jones and, the people behind the brand seem very nice. I paid for mine. This is, they didn't give them to me or anything, but the people behind the brand seem nice from what I can tell. I can't remember. I think that was Andy Spade's project.
Oh.
And I've always admired his style and thought he's done cool work. I don't know him, but the pajamas are slim. And then I got them and I was like, why did you make slim fit pajamas? Because like, if you're
be tossing and
turning in bed, you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, would you wear a slim fit dress shirt to bed? Of course not. Right. So this sounds ridiculous, but if you have a bespoke shirt maker, they can make you pajamas for not much more than you'd pay for high-end ready-to-wear, and probably less. Because if you look at all of the high-end pajamas from you can find Derrick Rose nowadays on eBay for cheap. But if you look at like what the retail prices are for like Emma Willis or Turnbull and Astor or Charvet kind of pajamas, those are actually
thousands.
Well, not thousands, but they're much more expensive than...
If you get them in gold.
Yeah, they're much more expensive than I paid for bespoke pajamas. And the nice thing about bespoke pajamas, again, that sounds insane, but I guarantee you that they are cheaper than ready to wear. But the fun thing about bespoke pajamas is that you can buy cool fabrics that you may not wear otherwise. So there's a shop called Merchant and Mills in the UK, and they sell all sorts of really neat, like Tencel linen fabrics or
that sounds soft.
Like interesting Japanese fabrics, like all sorts of really interesting fabrics. You can get swatches and then have them turned into, I think pajamas look best piped. You can get them turned into pipe pajamas. I don't know what Ascot Chang charges now because I bought mine like 15 years ago, but I remember paying maybe like $200 or $250, maybe $300 for mine.
Do you wear pajamas to bed?
I do.
Do you wear pajamas around the house?
Well, I mean, if I'm like working all day in the house, I'm not just always in my pajamas, but of course, I sleep in my house, so I'm wearing pajamas in my house.
See, that's so bizarre to me. I sleep just with my underwear.
Yeah?
Yeah. The idea of wearing clothes to bed is like, that's camping. That's... Why would you wear anything to bed? Just make sure that you have a nice warm down comforter and call it a night.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I do. I do that, but I don't know. Something about pajamas is really enjoyable. Also,
it is enjoyable.
In the morning when you're getting up, you have to put something on.
Who are you walking in front of?
Even if in the morning you're just like cooking breakfast, in your
Oh, that's true.
underwear?
You don't want hot oil splashing on you.
Well, I don't even feel comfortable. Like, I don't know. You're just chilly. The other thing that I really like is dressing gowns in the morning. I think those are really enjoyable.
I do like dressing gowns. I'm not going to lie. I like a good soft robe. Now, that's what I would put on because to me, the idea of putting on clothes, I don't want to do that unless I'm going out. But I can put on a robe. How easy is that?
Yeah, I love dressing gowns.
Yeah.
Again, if you have a bespoke shirt maker, they can make anything essentially. They can make anything that can be produced on the same machines that are used to produce dress shirts. So that includes dressing gowns, shirt jackets, obviously dress shirts, pajamas, things like that. Will Bulkey had once noted that Will Bulkey from A Suitable Wardrobe, this legendary menswear blog back in the day, had mentioned that also bespoke shirt makers can make boxers out of fine shirtings. Huh. But I have not gone that far. I don't need bespoke boxers. You don't need bespoke boxers. Yeah. But the dressing gowns are great because once again, you would be surprised when I recently saw this really wonderful brand called Gown Smith, I believe, and they sell dressing gowns. I believe that they're like $800 or so, which is a lot of money for a dressing gown, but understandable. I'm not suggesting that they, are overcharging. That's probably how much it costs for them to produce the item and then sell it so that they can survive as a company. But if you do have a bespoke shirt maker, you can get a dressing gown for considerably less than $800.
Nice.
I certainly did not pay. I don't remember what I paid because I bought mine 10 or 15 years ago, but I would not have paid $800.
Cotton, wool, what kind of dressing gown do you got?
I have 3. I have one made out of Fox Brothers flannel.
Baller.
One made out of silk, which was actually very difficult to procure because most silk that's printed is made for neckties. Oh, so they come in these large sheets that have lines in between the designs, like white lines, because it's assumed that you're going to be cutting this up and turning them into neckties. Huh. So what I ended up doing is Michael Hill over at Drake's was nice enough to sell me a roll of printed silk that they had that didn't have the white lines. And I turned that into dressing gown. And then I have one made out of Khadi cotton, which is the cotton that's, it's the yarns are hand spun and then the fabric is hand woven and the material's hand dyed. And it was it's considered, important for Indian independence because Gandhi had basically started the Indian independence movement by encouraging people to make their own clothes from like the beginning at the loom level, so that the Indian people would not be dependent on British imports. This was a way to boycott British imports. And I ended up getting a dressing gown made out of Khadi cotton dyed in indigo. The upside of getting a cotton dressing gown is that you can throw it into the wash.
Yeah.
Whereas silk and wool have to be dry cleaned. Yeah. But I will say I don't really wash mine very often because you're only wearing it for a short amount of time.
That's true.
And it's not like you're sweating in it,
Yeah.
So, but it is an upside to a cotton dressing gown. And the cotton dressing gowns will be cheaper. That's something that you can find from, like Ralph Lauren, Brooks Brothers. There's like, if you just Google it, those are like super easy to find. They're much more affordable. Like, I don't know, maybe like $100, $200. Whereas anything like linen, silk, and wool would be much more expensive unless you have a bespoke shirt maker who can make you something for much cheaper than ready to wear.
I was about to make fun of you for having 3 dressing gowns, but I have 2. And they're both from Daniel Hansen. One is a really cool woven paisley from India. They have an account in India that they use for a lot of their woven jacquards, and it's beautiful. I wore it outside. Actually, a lot of these dressing gowns you can wear outside, but they're...
You were in that castle, right?
I did. That was a phenomenal place. Man,
yeah.
I love that place. That's Chatsworth Castle.
Okay.
In the Midlands in England. And I loved it so much that I had to make me one similar, but not quite the same because I really love the woven jacquard paisley. That one was a very specific 4-color one that is super unique. And I wanted something a little more tonal. So I got one in a red gold tone that is beautiful. And I had them save the tassels because these are actual rugs. They make them out of rugs or carpets, I guess you should say. And they will normally cut the tassels off. And I'm like, no, that's cool. I like the fact that it was made from an artisanal rug. And so I think you should keep them on. And they did.
Oh, wow. So it's a custom gown?
It's a custom gown.
Cool.
Yeah. So they take your measurements. They do ready to wear, obviously, but they can take your measurements and they can make it a little more exact if you want. And I have little Tyrannosaurus Rex arms, so I usually have them shorten the sleeves a little bit. Beautifully made. I have another one in a very, very dark navy velvet paisley with a faux astrakhan collar.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's old school.
It's very ridiculous. I'm not going to lie, but that's my favorite. The wool one is nice. I'm not going to lie. That's wonderful. But the velvet with the faux astrakhan collar is just like, that's the one I put on. Pretty much.
My one feeling on dressing gowns is that if you get them made, the interesting thing about Daniel Hansen is that they're one of the few makers that makes them to the luxurious levels that makers used to produce them like back in the mid-century.
Yeah.
Nobody really wears dressing gowns anymore, so there aren't that many producers. And certainly, like Suka used to make these really incredible dressing gowns. So the Daniel Hansen ones, I believe, they have some that have this quilted inner lining. Which makes it obviously much warmer. That's hard to find in a lot of ready-to-wear nowadays because, again, not many people are buying dressing gowns. And to get a quilted inner lining would push the price up beyond what they're already charging, which is a price that most people are not willing to pay.
Yeah.
So Daniel Hansen's one of the few companies that will do that. And the other thing to know is that if you are buying a dressing gown, one thing to think about is how you're going to be most often wearing it. If you're often wearing it over a t-shirt, then, you can get them lined if you want. But I find that if you are not wearing pajamas or a t-shirt, a lining can make a dressing gown feel kind of slithery.
Isn't that nice though?
I don't know.
For wool, you want something. You get to wear.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things. Yeah, like if my flannel dressing gown is lined, I guess I've never had a wool unlined dressing gown. And so is my silk one. But the cotton one is nice in that.
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't want to line.
Yeah, like
cotton.
that is just like you just throw it on like a t-shirt.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind. And then also if you're able to, way back when I first had these made, my understanding is that there are two ways to make the tassels. There are machine tassels, which are basically, so every dressing gown that I've seen anyway has a belt. And the belt, sometimes it's not finished. So if it's piped, then it's just piped at the end. Sometimes there are tassels. And the most common finishing is to have a machine tassel. I don't know how to explain that other than showing a photo. But, if you just look up dressing gowns and you find tassels, they're probably machined. But back in the day, the really nice ones would come with hand knotted tassels.
Wow.
And when I had mine made, I tried so hard to find hand knotted tassels. I ended up getting mine from Bud. So almost all of the German street shirt makers either have ready-to-wear or bespoke dressing gowns that they can produce for you. So that includes Emma Willis, Turnbull and Astor, Bud. Maybe there's some others on the street. But basically, my understanding at the time, this was like 10 or 15 years ago, that nobody had hand-knotted tassels anymore because nobody was ordering this stuff. The only one that had hand-knotted tassels was Bud. And according to them, is what they told me on the phone anyway, was that the woman who made hand-knotted tassels for them had just retired, and she made a box full so that they last as long as they last, and that was it. They had no more.
Wow.
I don't, that's what I was told. I don't know what's the case now, but if you can get hand-knotted tassels.
What's the difference?
I think they visually look nicer. I think hand-knotted tassels look nicer. It's hard to describe on a podcast, but the hand-knotted tassels basically come in a V and they attach to the belt. It's just it's a V attachment and it's hand knotted.
Whereas so it's a little imperfect.
I mean, I haven't examined my dressing gown tassels, but it's just like a nice artisanal detail. Yeah. Whereas a machine tassel is nice, but to me, lacks some of the romance of something that has been,
something that was traditionally done by hand for generations.
Yeah, sure. Just something cool. If you get something made, call those like high-end shops, ask if they have hand knotted tassels and if they can sell you some. And if somehow they convince someone to continue on that tradition, then I would snatch them up and, put them on your dressing gown. You can give them to any shirt maker and they'll put it on. You don't have to go. At least I didn't. I didn't get my dressing gown through Bud. I got mine through Ascot Chang, who's my dress shirt maker. And yeah, I think it's just a nice detail. Again, I can't remember how much I paid, but it was considerably less than $800. I would not have paid $800 for a dressing gown. And it's lasted me for forever. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into the fashion shows.
Yeah. Were there any shows that caught your eye?
Yeah. I really liked a few of them. One of them that springs to mind is Kenzo.
Okay.
Kenzo is known for being very colorful, sometimes outlandish, and this was no exception. Still very, very colorful. But I thought some of their coats and cardigans and jackets were really nice. If you are scared, as I am, of getting crazy with color, I usually stick with browns, grays, blues. I don't get too crazy. But I do like color, and I'm constantly wondering how I can incorporate more color into my wardrobe. Not that I need to expand my wardrobe, but I do like color. And some of their coats are really nice. There's some in pastel blue, there's some in yellow, and some in green. Granted, it's a little outside my comfort zone, but I like it. It's inspiring.
Yeah, I find it difficult to wear color, I gotta admit.
Same.
But Kenzo does.
Want to hear the rest? Listen to the full episode and many more other exclusive episodes over on our Patreon. Visit patreon.com/Blamo to sign up and join the Blam fam. You also get access to our exclusive members-only Slack group where we chat about this and a ton of other things. So head over to patreon.com/Blamo and we'll see you there.